I was born in 1971. For some reason, I just suffered a kind of cultural arrested development. Never got into the 80s. I was always firmly stuck in the funk of it, the odour, the hairiness, the roughness. Donny Hathaway's Everything is Everything. What's Going On? Marvin Gaye. Sly Stones, There's a Riot Going On. Stevie Wonder's seminal Songs in the Key of Life. George Clinton fucking around with James Brown's ex-band members. The Jazzers were up to it as well. Roy Ayers, Herbie Hancock, Billy Cobham, Eddie Harris, Larry and Phonce Mazel. Yes, it was about the groove, the filth, what I saw in films like French Connection, Marathon Man. The San Francisco that I watched was not that of Sister Act or Mrs. Doubtfire. No, the San Francisco I knew was Dirty Harry, was the conversation. My, the porn films of the day. Now, this industry has been a cunt and always will be. I don't agree with it, but it is part of our culture. And the porn of the 70s was shot on film. When you shoot on film inside, you have to have big hot lamps. It must have stank when they were doing that. And the hair, woo, is not going to be something you'd be familiar with, kids. But what I find most enticing was not the hirsute bushes smacking against each other, but indeed the groovy funk that was bubbling under the mattress. The rawest kind of funk, improvised, loose to a point that was nearly falling to pieces, complete with mistakes, but the one cardinal rule: never score the money shot. So when it came to this new beginning of scoring our launch video, I wanted to investigate this subgenre of funk that I admire and see if I could recreate it. So I'm going to take you through the process of how I scored this video. New offering at the crowhillcompany.com, the all-new hub, where you'll be able to get resources built from stuff that we make. Say, for example, this video, we're going to have a whole study pack of multi-tracks from the recordings we've made, so you can have an opportunity to mix them, or indeed, if you want to dub the film, the launch video, or indeed if you want to compose a new soundtrack for it. It doesn't have to be porn funk, it can be EDM, whatever you like. It's part of our commitment to not only producing tools but resources, but also opportunities. So stick around to hear about how maybe your work could be celebrated. Now, Scotland, believe it or not, has a proud funk past. Average white band, half of them from Dundee, the other half from this place. Off to Glasgow to record the theme tune for our launch video, but also a cheesy little mnemonic. The reason I love using Gauble Sound in Glasgow is because of its very unique setup, whereby it has 8 almost total isolation booths, which all have sight lines into each other. So you can get people to play together as live and as greasy as you like, but you get the stemmage you need. Is that Fender P?
Fender P, yeah.
That's what we like to see.
I brought all the toys and stuff. Flat bounce Fender P, that will do. Lindy pickups, you know what I mean? Like, so
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
How filthy do you want to put the pullback to be in this? Like down,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah.
So we had a problem. I wanted it to be a greasy, hairy, filthy groove, but getting them to work to a click was always going to stymie that. What's more, the temp track or temporary track that we edited the video to had a variable click that I beat matched. So not only are they constricted by a click, it's also one that's difficult to navigate, just ruining the groove. So I took an executive decision to actually record it free of click, and poor old Jack, our editor, had to just basically do another pass at it. A bit special. Right, so there's going to be several different processes here. We'll start with the music that we get back from Gaubles. We got a nice big juicy Pro Tools session. I bypassed all of their plugins and just used their balance, which I thought was really good, and exported them into a slightly less detailed set of stems, which stands for stereo masters. We're going to go through the process of mixing the music. There's a couple more overdubs to do, composing some music for the first bit of the show, sound effects, balance all the dialogue, and then perform what we call a dub, which is the mixing of the dialogue, the sound, and the music, and often a mighty old bun fight. So let's have a listen to what we got back from Gaubles. So this is just absolutely raw, rough as a old panda's bottom. So first of all, we've got the kick. Hi-hat. Snare. And now the toms. Room, which I think is a great image. Overhead. And the perk. Bass. Guitar. I also added myself playing poorly on the Fender Rhodes, which was just a joy to get back behind that thing and have a bit of a funk. So let's put those all together. Okay, so these are the brass that we recorded in Gaubles. It was a bit of a rush job at the very end for me, and I think this arrangement is poor. So I asked Theo to rearrange or add to the arrangement an alto flute, and I think it was a tenor sax and a trombone. Put that all together. Which already sounds really strong. I love the fact there's no plugins on that whatsoever. We basically put everything through some mad processing up in the playroom, drums through the overstair, and then pretty much everything else was put through the coax channel. And be interested to see what you think. I think it adds just so much energy to it and so much musicality. Compare the drums and then Theo's guitar. And then we added a really shit reverb from Franken-Synth, and the bass was a bit, dare I say it, a little bit kind of honking. And now it sounds like this. And then let's listen to the Rhodes. I mean, it is a real Rhodes that. It has a real bite to it, but I think this sounds even better. It's almost like the channel is bringing out the bits you want to hear for the mix. And I think you'll be amazed at how much work I had to do once it had gone through all of this Kerouac stuff and the overstare. And the answer to that is very little. So let's have a listen to the brass as we had it. Which gives us this kind of sound. And all I did was I put them in a room together. After they were all put in the room together, I compressed it so it kind of glued it together into more of a record sound. See that it's just taking the edge off and making everyone behave a little bit more, but I'm just really delighted with the sound of that. I'm not a professional mix engineer. Well, I used to be, but a Project Studio, which is a piece of shit. So that's the montage bit of the music. Let's have a look at how I scored the first section of the film, which started up there, making bleeps and bloops out of Franken-Synth. My production career very much started with samplers and ADATs and stuff like that. So my language is physically playing something in, tuning it up and down in a classic sense. So this was still when we were in the land of MIDI, and again, this is not going to be in sync with the picture because it has evolved, and I'll explain what I've done after this, but basically made a little palette. That's a very, very quiet self-modulating signal from Franken-Synth that I've normalised. I just love all that hiss and hum. It sounds like kind of digital leaves. So there's something just undeniably modular about that. I basically got a lot of these loops to match picture. It had been edited to a temp track that did have a somewhat variable tempo here. So I got those loops all in time at first by literally speeding up and slowing down. And then you'll see I added stuff to put them into tune with each other. So this was originally that. This was originally that. Was originally. So I've high-passed the bejesus out of it and then added a tremolo. And again, because it's cut to the temp track, I simply used tremolo synced to the tempo. Got some more beeps here. This I just took from audio. Oh, I love that sound. It reminds me of Alien. What did that start out as? This is kind of more of a pad here. Right, so let's bring it back into sync. I basically bounced that out, that whole, and then just went into the world of music editing, really. Next up are our sound effects, and I wanted this to be immersive, and you will be very surprised at how important ambiences are. So you'll see we've got 3 different ambiences here, and if we have a look at the first one, some field noise. Put a little bit of reverb on to just soften these hard cuts. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch off the automation for a sec and bring it all the way down here. And we introduce this second ambient to make it feel like they're in different locations. Which is actually very subtle. So what I did is I really hyped this second ambience to make it feel more energetic, more dynamic, cutty, I guess. And then we've got a lawnmower, which I have not only automated, but I've panned, so it comes in stage left, moves to the right. We've got our explosion, which is totally fake. Not the explosion on screen, but the sound. And more is more. This is the first one. Second. And third. And I've spread them out because I think things sound bigger when they're not tight. And you'll see that I really hype up the ends of the explosion. So obviously it's got a big impact, but just really push up the decay. And then right at the end, really hype this smash cut. Which again just makes it, I think, a little bit more engaging. Moog Boom, this has been pretty much on every project I've worked on in the last 20 years. Beep here, which is just a sine wave. And the only change here is when we're up on the hill. It's just giving you a little bit more of the wind, the sense of being somewhere blustery. And then as I come down the hill, it gets more gentle, feeling that you're getting more sheltered. And one final little blob is, which again is just a little portion of a sine wave. So that's the sound effects. And finally, the dialogue. And the first thing I basically wanted to do with the dialogue is not make my voice sound so awful. Whilst this are all on the same mic, they're different levels of projection depending on where I am and what I'm doing. So I think a good example here is how awful my voice sounds like when I'm projecting. I've got this horrible thing that kind of around 800 hertz, which is just really unpleasant and annoys me. So for the last 6 months, I've been on. So you could just see I've just been battling against that. So let's start with. So for the last 6 months, I've been on gardening leave. So for the last 6 months, I've been on. So for the last 6 months. And then more of the horrid area. So for the last 6 months. And then I just have a real go at it here. So for the last 6 months. So compare the raw file. So for the last with the new file. So for the last 6 months. Once I'm happy with all of those, is to check all of the dialogue. You'll see that there's all of them have compression on to just reduce dynamics really. And then the next thing to do is to check that these things are all balanced, so we're not jumping up and down in volume between different locations and takes. Been on gardening leave, built around people other than gardening, our new matriarch. But aside from all that, I've been doing quite a lot of different things with it. From all that, I wouldn't say matches up, but it definitely feels like the same amplitude. And then what we've got here is a bad word that I've sent into 100% reverbs that go on for a long time. So let's hear the reverbs. Trying to imitate shouting something from the top of the hill. Have it, you And then finally, once you're happy with all of the dialogue being balanced and EQ'd right, it's time to actually dub the whole lot together. I kind of work with dialogue and the sound effects at the same time. So all I've had to do thereafter is simply ride the music. And you have to ride it like a rodeo bull. What comes first is the dialogue. That's the story. Whilst I honed my tarot card reading powers, I've picked up enough dog shit to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Meet Nala, our new matriarch. But aside from all that, I've been working my socks off as a composer. Since last seeing you, I've written 3 feature films, 3 TV series, and over 10 hours of music for a major new series on. I can't wait to tell you. This is when basically sending the music all the way through a bus into an auxiliary that you can attenuate is really handy for moments like that. So. And over 10 hours of music for a major new series on. And I don't mind the little glitches and stuff. It makes it feel more accidental. I do hope you have a rummage round, but would also love it if you had a go at composing some music for it yourself. It doesn't have to be porn funk. It doesn't have to be weird electronic quiggly bobs. It could be orchestral, it could be. Right, so in a few weeks' time, we'll be announcing our first kind of opportunity, and that is to rescore the launch video. You can get on with it straight away by joining the Crow Hill Company membership, which is free, and accessing the resources. So there's no hurry, but you can get your hands on those resources now. Links in the video description down below. And as I said, we haven't yet sorted out the T's and C's, but we really want to celebrate your work, and whether it be you having a go at recomposing or mixing the music that we've done, adding to the music we've done, remixing the music we've done, we want to hear all about it. So speak to us, collaborations at thecrowhillcompany.com. But the best way of getting under our noses is social media, and if you want to upload it to YouTube, we're not going to prevent anyone from doing that. Just add the handle #TheCrowHillCompany and we'll find you. Who is your favourite 1970s funk act? The hairier, the greasier, the looser, the better. Just before you go, the heartbeat of this new enterprise is this channel, the YouTube channel. So if you can see yourself to subscribing, telling your friends about it, telling them to subscribe, it means so much to us. So I appreciate that and thank you in advance. Ding the bell to be notified the next time we put a video up, and love you lots. See you very soon.